G'day, welcome everyone. Welcome your faces back to the selection table. We had a week's sabbatical, so I suppose I better apologise from that. Two of us on this show, me and Let Dog, have been full of mischief and frivolity in the last couple of weeks, and we were both on hardcore drugs. So we are back to being full strength. Apart from one of us, Ian is not here today. He has caught COVID because evidently he doesn't realise it's 2024 and COVID isn't a thing anymore. So shout out to Ian for an imaginary illness. But joining me, as always, one of us is late, as always, but joining me, as always, in more familiar, homely surroundings. We have actually missed him because I enjoy our chats, but a man that's not afraid to shoot from the hip, a legend around the Werribee area, Mr. Heath Buck. How are you, Bucky?
G'day, Pommy. Good day, Lek. Good, mate. Yeah, good to be on again. A couple of weeks off, feeling nice and refreshed. And what a time, I mentioned before we went to air, what a time to be a Bluebagger. It's certainly very exciting. I mean, last week was just unbelievable, really. Jaw-dropping, as I mentioned in my review of the game. And, geez, what a game it's going to be this weekend against the Bombers. It's got some mayonnaise on it, this game. Can't wait for Sunday night. It's going to be huge.
There's something beautiful, isn't there, Bucky, about being a content creator, talking about reviews when we win? Because I don't know about you, but I always feel when I get angry at the Blues, half my audience is the opposition fans enjoying the fact that I'm depressed. But it's quite nice talking about a side that's winning well and playing sexy football, dare I say it.
Oh, definitely. I think that was our most complete performance. And I think I was sort of thinking about this, boys, during the week. You know, like I think there's two types of supporters. There's those supporters like me who are generally half glass empty, and then you've got the half glass full brigade. But I think this game surprised all of us. Even the really positive supporters, I think they looked at this game and thought, shit. We went across there and did something we've not necessarily done before. And I think it shocked a lot of us, including myself. I thought it was just an amazing performance. But, yeah, great to review that game. Thought we did so much right, not just that last quarter, but the first three quarters I thought were outstanding. When the game wasn't on our terms and we were finding different ways to score, whether it was by transition or on turnover, I thought the first three quarters was probably just as impressive as that last quarter, which I think we generally can score really quickly when we win stoppages and win the ball out of the middle of the ground. But the ability just to score when the game is tight has been a problem for us for a period of time under Michael Voss. But it just all clicked last Thursday night. So hoping we can take that into the game against Essendon on Sunday.
Mate, I agree. And people, J Baggers, he's watched your videos. Substance is one of your words. There was a lot of substance. One of my words is...
Last year it was about just, I suppose, winning those tight games, you know, like the games coming up against really tough opposition, whether it was Collingwood or Melbourne late in the season. We just wanted some wins of substance. This was a different win. I mean, there was substance obviously in this game, but this one was more based on real system and structure rather than just pure grit and determination. I think we know we've got that in this group, but to actually see us play in a way which looks like a team that can do some real damage if we can go deep into September, it's still a bit of an if. But yeah, I think this was different than just substance. This was a real football team motoring along really nicely.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. And joining us, a man who is Leg Dog. What can I say about Leg Dog? Leg Dog's a good mate of mine in real life. He's probably... Bucky said something there that's interesting because Leg Dog might be the only person I know who can, on a whim, go from glass half empty to glass half full. And it throws me. He's the only man that I've never had a full read on, but Leg Dog, he's a fellow sick. We've been in rehab, haven't we, me and you, Leg Dog, over the last 2 weeks? We've just been filtered back into the main group. How are you going, my friend?
No, I'm well, mate. Oh, and we stuck to the timeline as well. We were only out for 1 week. It didn't sort of progress and turn into a 14-weeker. So, bit of good news fans out there. No, look, mate, I'm great. The Port Adelaide game was a lot of fun. We looked. I mean, that's how in my head we play football. So I know it's not the case all the time, but I think we'll back it up this week. I know I don't have to go out and front all the fans and play in front of 100,000 people, but I think Essendon are pretenders. So we should shit it in is my hope, particularly if we can get close to what we did in terms of form on Thursday.
Mate, I agree. I mean, the big pretenders for me are GWS because I've nicknamed them BWS because they're complete bottle jobs. I need to come up with a witty anecdote for Essendon. So I might get in your DMs like Doug. We'll think of something witty we can call Essendon.
We'll get there. Essendon is a good one, but it's not quite what I'm after.
Yeah. I need something a bit more sexual, I think. A bit more X-rated. You know what I'm like. But also joining us, a man that is on everything and quite rightly I don't understand this, as a man that has the beard growth ability of a 13-year-old girl.
Well, these days it would be.
How the hell were you clean shaven on Monday and we're at Wednesday and you've got a full-on fucking beard?
This is what happens when you've got Southern Italian blood in you.
Jesus Christ! Like that, honestly, that is insane. Yeah, you know what I mean? But how are you, Paolo? Good to see you, mate.
I'm fantastic, and Bucky, if last Thursday was a win of substance, I think this Sunday will be a win against substances.
Yeah, very good. Very good, yes.
Thank you very much. I was holding that one in for a while.
Did you shave this morning, Paul?
No, I just shaved before I came on. Yeah, I've got the hold on. I've got the there's the Nivea. The post-shave barb. There it is.
Very good.
I always keep it next to me.
Tell you what, the way AFL YouTube's been going recently, you holding up a bottle of white stuff actually worries me a little bit. Because there is a weird challenge going around some of these AFL YouTubers. But it's good to have you all here. It's good to have you all as well, chat. You're all been chatting away in. We've got the great man, Faz. Pitting it in, Faz says. You are a man of chaos, and that is why I like you. But as always, we go through the teams. You guys and girls have a vote. You are Michael Voss, per se. We are merely the people on the panel. We agree on a team, and then we go out there and we smash the Essendon Bombers. And let's go. We'll pick on me first, because I've been itching to do this. I only had myself to talk to last week. Just literally chatted to my wife about the team, and she was like, I don't care, I support Saints. So I'm glad to have friends to talk to. So I went really simple. I did think about bringing Pitternet in for the conversation, but I did it once before last year, as Lekdog will remember, tried to be the sacrificial lamb to create point of discussion, and my DMs were rife. And honestly, the painkillers aren't strong anymore, so I couldn't deal with it. So I just brought Durden in. Now, before you come at me and you go, Pommy, there's a wonderful, articulate man in the VFL by the name of Jesse Motlop. Don't worry about it. The reason is I watched the game in the VFL, and I love the fact Motlop got a bit of midfield minutes, which alluded to me that the Orazio Fantasia role is a real role. And I think he's been trained for it, to play high up the ground around stoppage. And I didn't see enough of him to say to me he's better than Fantasia. But Carroll turned it on that game. And I was like, if he comes in, he's going to be the sub. And he's not going to play the Fantasia role. So who do I like the least to come in to be sub, who I don't think is going to learn anything in VFL? And for me, Durden... I feel like Durden needs more time, but I'd rather give time to the other boys like Billy Wilson, who's having a cracking season, Binns, who's having a cracking season, than making someone else a sub. So for me, it's worked before. We've played a small forward as sub. I like it. maybe against big lights, against a club that I know he hates. He hates pies and he hates bombers. It might give him the kick up the arse he needs for 10, 15 minutes in the game. But that was the team. Keep it simple, stupid, as my pop used to say to me. And I'm not scared to say I'm stupid. So I will field the questions of, Pom, why have you brought in Durden?
Yes. I was actually going to say that there's probably two ways of thinking about it. Like you said, one way, Durden he's not going to get anything out of a VFL game again this weekend. Alternatively, though, on the other side, Jack Carroll, does he have more, not to sound cliche, does he have more strings to his bow as a substitute than what Durden would, just in case something was to happen, Pommy? That's how I'm looking at it.
Mate, I think if you go in on a night out and you think you're going to come home alone, you're coming home alone. When I go on a night out, I'm coming back with a 10. Right, so to answer the question, I'm going in for 10s, bro. So I just think for me, Carroll, he showed that game, and I was watching Carroll really intently in the VFL, and I was like, this is another level to Dow in the VFL. If you actually watch that game, defensively strong, attacking-wise strong, he was distributing well.
Yeah,
I think we've brought in another midfielder. I would say Carroll's probably got a bit of a cloud on him because it's really easy with the picks next year. There's 2 more midfielders coming in. You can't have that many midfielders on a list. It's going to break down eventually. Give him the best opportunity to flourish. And 15 minutes in a fourth quarter, what's he proving? So I'd rather him have 2-3 weeks in the Magoos, really put a case in. And then when Chera comes in, is Carroll playing? Give him the best chance to fight for Chera. And that's by playing him in the Magoos and putting in some real solid form and really blazing in and saying, look, I'm ready. And then we cross it. Because when he comes on in the AFL, we played him like half forward. I'd rather Durden for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Fair point.
Yeah, he's probably competing with the Kennedy Hewitt spot. We probably got one too many mids, which is in the best team, which is why we saw Doc. He was kind of playing cross half forward at the start of the year. I think. What do we think, Pom? I know because there's not much to talk about in terms of your ins and outs. There's only one, but it's like I almost put Carroll into my side ahead of Kennedy. But then you've got to ask that question: What are we trying to do with the guys we drop to the VFL and the guys we use as sub? And how do you weigh it up? Because on form, I know Kennedy's playing outside of his usual role. I'd probably rather Carroll in the team at the moment on form, but Kennedy's going to go back and get 45 in the 2s. Like it's a kind of start now that we've been talking about it all year. Now the players are coming back. It's actually, squeaky bum time. We've got to make some calls on some players.
Well, I was watching Carroll in the VFL, and it was a role I've never seen a VFL player play, but it was kind of like how Hewitt starts at stoppage, but then you saw this burst that Hewitt doesn't have. Yeah. So I was watching it, and there was part of me that toyed with the idea, because I did a video about the turnover and the turnover myth, I call it, with Pitternet, to say it's not his fault. If you're blaming him, the second worst player in our team statistically for turnover scores is Sam Walsh. When he's added, he's the second depreciator. So I was like, if you say it's Pitternet, I dare you to say Walsh, because you know it's not. You know that there must be another answer to the question if the number says that. So the only answer we came up to in that video was if you play Pitternet, you can't play Hewitt and Kennedy. You have to play a different point of difference in the midfield to alleviate his stagnance, which you can get away with when TDK plays because he's mobile. So there maybe is an argument, Dog, to answer your question is, I think, honestly, if Voss was here now, you held a gun to her head and said, are you a 2-ruck man? I reckon Voss says yes. And I think Voss knows he is, but he knows he hasn't got the system and the players at this moment to play it effectively with the turnover game. That's where Carroll, for me, comes in. That's where Carroll is the point of difference if he can prove he is defensively astute enough to handle the AFL. So that's what I'd be doing. VFL, I'd be saying, you are Murkoff's legs, prove it. 4 weeks, prove it. Let's end the Kennedy Hewitt experiment and let you be the man to do that. That would be what I'd be telling him if I was his coach.
I mean, the dynamic of that midfield is obviously changed over the last fortnight or so, as soon as Chinkotter's gone in there to play that sort of lockdown role. It's a really interesting one, actually, because I'm just trying to work out who goes out. Like, he starts across half forward, doesn't he? He doesn't actually start in the centre at centre bounces. He then goes to whoever the player he's going to run with, whether it was Miller against the Gold Coast Suns last week, was it Butters he played on? So that certainly pushed maybe Kennedy further out from midfield minutes and, some other players as well. And that, in a sense, also pushes Carroll back another sort of rung as well, because no one would have ever thought that Chincotta was going to come in and play this role. I think at the start of the year, it was always Chincotta was going to be battling, to play a half-back flank or a back pocket. I don't think any of us would have predicted that this would have been the role for Chincotta, and he's playing it so well. And I think the positive for me from Chincotta is he had 7 touches against the Gold Coast Suns, which I thought was probably unders. I know it's a lockdown role, but I thought last week he started to really impact offensively. I think he had 13, 14 touches. He was involved in quite a number of changes, and I can see that. I can actually see him even improving on that even more as the season progresses. So it's something I don't think the club probably had in mind, that he could come in and play, 1, a lockdown role, but 2, also be potentially that player that's got some leg speed and also can win his own ball, which makes the dynamic completely different. And also it may make guys like Kennedy or Hewitt in time obsolete.
I think I don't want to get too far into the future. If you're looking ahead at the off season and, let's assume all of our players are still on the list at the end of the year, you're probably over-indexing in that inside mid, a Kennedy and a Hewitt, and you look at where they are in their careers. Kennedy probably is a best midfielder at most teams or a lot of teams, so maybe there might be something there. And as you said, Pom, we're bringing in 2 more midfielders this season, but it's all relevant because the decisions we make now as a club and how we line up will affect the back end of the season, the value of players and how they feel about playing at the club. And yeah, I think you're right, Bucky, that Chincotta, that defensive role, he's very quickly picking it up. And so we've seen other players take seasons and seasons to start adding the possession totals to the negating role. And like, he's gone 7, then doubled it. And then I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to 20 this week. So he's learning very quickly. And you're right. It just changes the whole balance of the whole team.
And you got Cherry to come back into that mix as well.
Yeah, exactly.
He's sort of forgotten about him. Like, he's forgotten man. I mean, who comes out then? Because I can't see Chincotta coming out of that midfield mix, considering what he's doing. And I know, Paul, you said on Twitter today that you've got some ideas about who he could potentially, tag this week for Essendon, and it mightn't be the obvious choice. And I think that's the good thing with Chincotta. I don't think the opposition know who he's going to go to. No, I don't think anyone would have thought that he would have gone to Miller. That was a real surprise. Maybe an Anderson or a Rao.
Yeah.
And then last week, Butters. Why not Jason Norton-Francis? So it's a real surprise who he could go to against Essendon. They know he's going to tag, but they've probably got no idea who it's going to be. I love that. I love that dynamic.
It's going to be interesting. I did think some of the other boys have done, Sandy. Stay tuned, mate. I did think about Wilson. I did think about Binns. I did think about Moore. Again, I just feel Durden is a guy that, for me, isn't learning anything in the VFL. I feel like when I watched him, it was a Durden game. So I was like, I've seen you do that in the AFL. So this week, I wanted Carroll to have a full VFL game. So that was, I didn't want to debut anyone off the bench. Billy Wilson, I kind of wanted to bring him in because I feel, in my opinion, his form deserves a game more than Binns, because I feel like he's more AFL ready now than Binns. But I was like, putting you on for 10 minutes, it's just not cool. Like that was my mindset as a sub. So that was it. Durden was the one who I thought, you know what, giving him 15 minutes a game, I don't care. It was a sacrificial sub this week. It wasn't a reward. But Bucky, you made the one change as well.
Oh,
talk us through it.
Oh,
yeah, I think he's been outstanding. I right back to the Werribee game, which I went and watched out here at Turnside Park. I thought he was probably our best player that day in the VFL. I thought he was just, his ball use was very good out of the back half, and I reckon he's been pushed further up the ground, even further than the back pocket where he probably started. And I just touching on what you said, Pom, I think he's been our best player consistently in the VFL in regards to impact, speed. I think he's got an AFL-ready body. Look, the balance, it's probably more devil's advocate. I actually don't feel like they'll make any changes, if I'm brutally honest. But if you're going to bring in a debutant, and looking at that, we've probably got too many defenders, but I really like him. And I think he'd shine on the big stage against Essendon. I think he's ready to go. I was sort of thinking about this, boys. When was the last time we didn't have, and I know it's only halfway through the season, when was the last time we didn't have one of our first-year players actually debut in a season? I went right back. I can't remember the last time. You go right back through the years, even before the rebuild, we always would debut, one of our draftees. I can't remember the last time we didn't. Right here, right now, Moya's a fair bit off the pace. I can't see. I mean, look, there's no doubt his form will hopefully improve, and there's no panic stations there. I think they're just trying to give him some midfield time down back, on the wing at times, up forward. But I think they've really put Wilson in a spot that he's really strong at. I love his pace. I love his aggression, and I think he's a really, sort of level-headed kid. So I'd love to see him debut. I really would. I actually thought Orazio wasn't that bad the other night. I know he got subbed out. Actually thought he did some nice things. I thought he looked nice and composed, and some of his kicking was outstanding, and I thought he was probably a little bit unlucky to be subbed out. I actually can't see any changes, if I'm brutally honest. But I would love to see Wilson play. But just looking at that, we've probably got too many defenders. But I'll just put it there for some discussion. I think he's been really good in the VFL. I think his form stacks up. He's been probably unlucky that he hasn't come in, considering the amount of injuries we've had. Now they're all starting to come back. I'm just trying to think, when will one of these draftees get an opportunity? It might be on Sunday night against the Bombers in a really big game. There's plenty of experience around him. Plenty of experience. It's not like he's coming into a raw team. He knows the system. So, we'll see how it pans out.
Do you feel like me, Bucky, when you watch, especially the last 2 weeks where Voss has really gone high up, gone high up, like Newman, Saad playing high up? I noticed it the week before Port. I was like, if I'm Billy Wilson, I'm like, Jesus, I thought I was coming here to maybe do what everyone else has done, start life as a lockdown. This suits me. If I get in this team, I can show my skills. I can bash. And I keep watching him, and, I think there's a bit of Nick Newman in him. And people forget Nick Newman is in that area now. 32 is generally when we see players plateau. So that's only another season away. I'm looking at Billy Wilson, and the way he's so mature and controlled as well. He makes, some of that back line. I was watching him this week, and he was next to Lewis Young, and it's hard to believe Billy Wilson's been in the system 9 months. With his maturity, he didn't look phased. He was ordering people around. I can see a Nick Newman replacement straight off the bat in Billy Wilson, because he looks so calm.
I mean, he's a ball winner. He reads the play so well. I mean, I look at Jordan Boyd, and I really like Jordan Boyd. I think he plays an exceptional role for us. He does the kick-ins, and he's very good defensively. I think we're all still waiting for him to have that game where he's really attacking offensively. But I think Billy Wilson's a natural footballer. I think he knows how to find the ball. He knows how to attack. He knows when to defend. I think that's probably an area he's still learning, considering he's so young. But I feel like he'll come in and just play the game because he's a smart player. I really like the way he goes about it. I really do. I think he's a tough kid, and his ball use is outstanding. He kicks the ball with penetration. They're dart-like kicks from the back half. So it's exciting. Look, it's a bit of a long shot putting him in there, but his form stacks up. It really does stack up. So, what did you think about his performance on the weekend, Paul? I mean, you were there. Did you?
Yeah, no, he's the one thing I noticed about him is he's just so composed, ball in hand as well. I think I remember when we were watching him at training during the preseason, there was that training session he had where he had the ball on an absolute string, and he made one or two errors ball in hand, but he kept at it. He just kept going and going and going. And I do think that we are eventually going to groom him for. I know you said Newman, Pommy, but I have an inkling just from what we heard during the preseason as well that he seems to be this guy who's going to probably start his career in the back half as a halfbacker or that type of role, and then progress to an on the ball role. Because if you look at our profile of midfield at the moment, and it may change, from now over the next 2 to 3 years, but he's a complete point of difference if he was to be thrown into midfield. I don't think he's ready for that yet, but the fact that he's being groomed at that halfback role, we've seen that a lot with players in AFL. Like Callum Mills played at halfback, Heaney played at halfback, and now they're all starting to play on ball. I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near that level, but I think that's just going to be the natural progression for him. But his composure. He's not scared to take those risky kicks either. So, and to be in a team on the weekend that was just getting, they weren't great, but he was the only one that stood out. For me, it's his composure. I know he's got a lot of agility and he's got a bit of pace, but his composure under pressure is what has stood out for me this season. He's got that sort of, and I'm not comparing him to the Dacos boys, but he's got that low he's got that turn. He's got the bandy legs, the low center of gravity. I think that's always great. They don't go to ground. They don't lose their feet. They've really got great core strength. Yeah. If you watch him run, he's got that really bandy legs. And his motors are long. No, he's really impressive. Yeah. So we'll see how it pans out tomorrow night at selection. There'll be an extended squad. Will be. Yeah. Yeah, so he might be in that. He might be in that extended squad, just to give him a bit of a sniff to see, you're close, mate. But there's a few blokes just in front of you. I mean, looking at that, we're probably a little bit. I mean, the guy that probably could come out if Wilson was to come in would be maybe Lockie Cowan. He could take his spot, but I mean, I think Cowan's been okay. He was a little bit quieter last week, but was good defensively. The week before, he was outstanding against the Suns. But that's probably the spot if he was to come in rather than replacing a Fantasia. Yep.
I think the dream is the last 4 games, isn't it? If we can be in a position to be Geelong, and that's rest players en masse. So some of your older legs, your Nick Newmans will have played something like 40 games in a row by that stage. It would be nice to be able to say, I think we've got the Eagles, haven't we, again? Last 4 games.
We've got the current bottom 5 in like the
we've got North, that's it. Like
something like
one
that.
of them games to be able to say, right, Sard, have an extra week before the end of the season. Billy, get a week to showcase. That's probably that's the nice time. But I agree with you, Bucky. You know what's music to my ears is both of you have said composure unprompted. And that's a big improvement. I'm really impressed this year and last year with the draftees adding layers that they didn't have in juniors. And that was one thing that Billy was knocked on. And a few games I watched when he played for Vic, he panicked at times. When the pressure came, he did the dump kick and Bucky nailed it. He's got that arsenal, that low dart, get me out of trouble, hit a target. And to see him exercise against tough teams and under pressure this week, That's a music to my ears because I'm like, if you can do that in VFL, you're closer to AFL because we don't want to see that bump dump kick.
Yeah,
we want to see you attack the game.
One thing I'll just before we wrap him up, there was I think is it the page? What's the page that puts the highlight to? Is it Carlton Blues fans? I think
it is.
On Instagram. If you go and watch, just go watch Billy Wilson's highlights. There's a play where he's under pressure at half back, and we mentioned, and you mentioned there that dump kick that he could potentially be prone to. Rather than that, he kind of at the corner of his eye, he flicked around and he hit this switch kick laterally that went about, I don't know, 35, 40 meters into the middle. And it was just, he just hit it perfectly and it just opened up the rest of the field. And I think that's what we're going to see from him as we go forward this season. And that's what we need more of in the AFL team, I think, in those particular moments. And I'd be happy if they continue to give him the license to be able to do that, regardless of if it's a turnover or not, because I don't think we do that enough at AFL level. That's just the way I see it anyway.
Mate, I think we nailed it. I hope Billy comes in, actually, Bucky. I'm with you. I'd love to see him play, but it's weird as being good. We don't have to debut kids anymore. It's exciting, but I mean, Let Dog being Let Dog, he swung the axe.
Mate, I've gone hard.
We're playing football of our fucking dreams, mate. Everything we always talk about, you and me, and you're sacking players. Talk me through it.
I mean, I'm a bit like you, Bucky. I think they probably won't actually make any changes, but I think I don't mind Carroll staying out of the side, continuing to play full games. I think getting that continuity, I'd rather see that than see him play a quarter. Like you guys, I wanted Billy Wilson into the team. Like you, Bucky, I couldn't work out how to do it with all the defenders we already have, so I cheated and I put him as the sub.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's just a pure coward's way out, but it's a good way to get him into the side. And then I know we've been talking about composure and Binns maybe not really having that, but I think that Binns could play the role that we're asking Fantasia to do, which is the slightly higher forward, half forward kind of pinch hitty role, and produce the same output, but with the upside of being a 19-year-old instead of being an injury-prone, north of 30 player or close to. And I don't want to be too negative because Fantasia did have an okay game on the weekend and he did some nice things, but it was this channel Pom and Blue Abroad where when we brought him in and I sort of did the analysis and set up, I wasn't thrilled about it. I got promised that he was going to be, not by you, by the comments, that he was going to be a goal-kicking star and we're finally going to get him healthy. Well, he's healthy. I haven't really seen him do anything to me that warrants staying in the side more than a Binns order. I just think we can get more. I think they're going to rotate that role anyway when more guys are available, Martin Cunningham. So I just want to see it now.
Does he owe you money?
No, he doesn't owe me money. I just don't see it and I don't love it. He did some nice, okay things, but we've shifted the conversation pre-season from, geez, he could be our third highest goal kicker to he did all right and he got a couple of nice knock-ons. So for me, I think we can get a couple of nice knock-ons from a couple other players on the list. Chat has pointed out that he's playing Essendon this week and that he'll stay in the side for that reason, but that's not a good enough reason for me.
I'm with you, Leek. I thought he was okay on the weekend. He did a few good things, but I don't know if it's bemused, and he's obviously playing a role. He wouldn't be in the team if he's not playing a role. But if he's so important, why was he subbed out on the weekend? So why was he subbed out? Like, if his role is crucial to the way this team is playing and he's super important and he's doing, this something which other players can't do, what was the reason for him to be subbed out of that game? Like, can anyone explain that other than the fact that he was probably the one that was least effective?
Yeah, and
it's not a knock. It's not a knock. But I agree. We've got his body right, but the actual impact's not there. I just don't see the impacts there. Yeah. And he's an experienced footballer, so he should be able to do a few good things here and there, but he's not as you said, he's not a 19-year-old. He's not a 20-year-old. He's a seasoned footballer. He's had enough time to get his body right, and this is what we're getting from it. I don't think it's enough, personally.
No. I mean, he's been subbed in once. I think he might have been subbed, but not subbed in once as well. And he's been subbed out twice. And I'm with you. If it's so vital to the team, they can't be subbing him. And I know I see you, Faz. I see you. I understand that Binns can turn the ball over and stat pad. But what I'm suggesting is that we would get the same output, but with upside from Orazio, because I don't care if he kicks it at 100%. If he's only touching the ball 4 times, it's not enough. It's just not enough.
Yep. Faz, I can confirm. Fantasia left the pub early with me and Lake Dog and made him pay the bill. He's got it in for him, bro. But I can't. I've got a question for you, Lake Dog, which kind of answers Bucky's with my theory, but. 2 $15 donations. Words, Pommy. Words. 2 $15 donations from Brian Ambrose McMahon. I struggled with your name, and you have the most English name in the world, so I apologise, Brian. It's not just Italian names I struggle with. English names are also an issue. But I did want to say, now, when you look at Fantasia's role, and Bucky mentioned it earlier, Chera, I watched the VFL and suddenly Motlop's playing the role. And I'm like, okay, hang about. This is a real thing. Because at first I thought maybe Bucky was onto something. Maybe it is the source. Because I was like, why are you playing a pocket forward as an extra round stoppage in the midfield when he's never done it before? And then it started to dawn on me, this is an actual role. And then last week, I agree with Bucky. They subbed him out of nowhere. And I thought, maybe I'm an idiot. I actually thought that was Fantasia's best game up to halftime. I was like,
it was.
Okay, this is it. Maybe there's something here. And I sensed the fourth quarter was going to happen. Carlton were going to run over the top and go into another gear. And I thought this might be Fantasia's time. This might be where we have a seven touch quarter and a goal when we're suddenly like, Jesus, Fantasia's arrived. And suddenly Carroll comes on. And then I thought it was weird because Carroll didn't go in the midfield. He went forward, and then Kennedy went there. And that's what led me to believe what Bucky asked earlier. I think Fantasia is keeping the seat warm for Chera, and I have a firm believe that that's what it's going to be. We've added the extra midfield rotation. Walsh has been hung out on the wide now. He's not going to as many stoppages. Maybe Voss sees him as the placeholder for Chera, and Carlton are going to be a too small system with an extra rotating mid, a la a famous side, Richmond. Is that maybe the theory, that Fantasia is just the next best player to play that role?
Well, if I probably agree with Lecky that if that's the case, then give Binns an opportunity to play that role.
Yeah,
it seems like if that's a player coming up to the stoppages and almost playing as an extra mid, I reckon, give Binns an opportunity to see if he can get more output from that position. If that's the case, I believe what you're saying there, Pom. I think it's that looks like. But what is Binns? I mean, what is Binns' role moving forward? What do you see in him? I mean, he's moved. It almost feels like he's moved away from that wing position. He's playing more of an on-ball role in the VFL. So where do you see him? Because I feel like what you're getting from Binns at the moment is probably what you're going to get Binns for the rest of his career, if I'm perfectly honest. I can't see a lot of upside with Jackson Binns. And it'd be great to see him get an opportunity to see if he can adapt at this level.
Yeah, that's all I want. I just want an opportunity, and it doesn't have to necessarily be Binns. Binns is the player I've chosen. I believe the role's real, and I've watched your videos on it, Pom. I agree the role's real, but when you're getting 4 kicks a game and 2 of them are turnovers, to me, like someone else can achieve the same thing. Make it Carroll. I don't really mind who it is. They don't understand. Yeah, it's just for me. I just don't see it. I think it's a bit of a crutch. We know coaches. We did it with Curnow for a year. We did it with Betts for a year. They just get stuck on the veterans because, they're veterans and coaches like veterans. But for me, and the comments that he almost kicked goal of the year or goal of the century, amazing, except he didn't because someone stopped it. So it wasn't goal of the century because someone got in the way.
Hey, but back to the analogy I used with Paolo, nearly going home with a supermodel is as good as going home with a supermodel.
That's true.
Leg Dog, don't throw me under the bus as well. I've watched your videos, Pom. Come on, look. The English and the Italians have history. We have a couple of wars, and we also have them robbing us in the Euros. So I wouldn't go out of my way to defend. Far be it from me. But no, I agree with what you're saying about thing. I mean, with Bins though, Bucky, do you think this? And this is a question to all three of you because you all do your draft and you all look at that kind of thing. Do you feel Carroll though? And this is why I want him to have VFL time. I feel like Austin and Agresta have really put an imprint on this list to stray away from the Mike and from the Sauce era. And there seems to be a blueprint now. You have got to run. If you can't run, fuck off. Yeah. Now, the big issue, and I remember doing the draft profile with Jack Carroll, my issue was he was an inside midfielder with outside numbers. And I was like, and the reason he had the outside numbers, he didn't have the engine to play on the outside, but he could in spurts. But it was that inside mid was really bad. And it was like, can we build it up? Bin's now going to, like Bucky says, an inside out role. We saw Ollie Hollands play a bit inside out in the AFL, and he's now playing forward mid, which I thought spelled the end of the Bins experiment because that's probably Bins' job. Do you think maybe Bins going inside out is game over for Carroll? Is that the club making a statement of saying he's the next big thing?
I'd love to ask Paul on this. I've got fears for Jackson Bins, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't feel like you don't need to be big. Like there's small players, lightly framed players who are exceptional AFL footballers. It's not necessarily his size, but I actually don't see it. He's a ball winner. I'm a little bit worried for him, to be perfectly honest. I feel his opportunity would have come now. And I feel like people say, he's still in his second season, but he's going to rack up big numbers in the VFL regardless. But I actually feel like his numbers are dropping a little bit too, whether that's confidence, whether he feels like maybe he's on the outer now. So I worry about him more than Jack Carroll. I think Jack Carroll's still got a future in the club. But I'm worried about Jackson Bins, if I'm brutally honest. Wanted it for him because I think he went into the season with high hopes, won the best and fairest last year in the VFL.
Yeah.
The fact that Ollie was really out of form at one stage, but they never really seriously considered bringing Jackson Bins in other than just coming in as a sub, as a late out. It's almost said, mate, you're just, I just don't think they rate him. That's just the feeling I'm getting. And I'm not seeing it myself, to be perfectly honest. I watch a fair bit of the VFL football. And I look, shit. Jackson Bins had 25 touches, but fuck, there's no impact. So I worry, Paul. I don't know about you, mate, what you're thinking with.
I think, from my point of view, I don't think he can ever be a player that's going to be, just from what I've seen the first season and a half of him, I don't think he's ever going to be, I don't think he'll ever have the skill set or strength to become even a bit part inside player to go with his outside game. For me, he's just pure outside. That's the way I'm looking at him. I just think he's a pure winger, pure winger. I can't see him. The one thing for me, and I'm looking at it from what are the principles that you're looking at in each individual, and what do you want as a team? So is it contest and pressure, regardless of if you're an inside or outside player, right? Does Jackson Bins bring both of those things when he takes to the football field? I don't know. I look at it and I look at Ollie Hollands and I think, I know you're probably 55 kilos wringing wet, but he's a tough little bastard, isn't he? He's tough. And I look at Jackson Bins and I think, are you really going to put your body on the line if push comes to shove in those moments? I
I know he is probably an outside player, but as an outside player, is he really having the influence at VFL level to suggest that, holy shit, if we actually don't go to him, he's going to absolutely carve us to shreds? And I don't think he's that at AFL level yet either. So, you look at the roles that he's probably trying to push for in the AFL team, and Hollands is ahead of him, Akers is ahead of him, Cottrell's probably ahead of him. There's probably other players in that midfield and other players in that team that can play the wing role and the outside role who are in there at the moment that can be shifted there that are ahead of him. And this is not, is it a knock on him? Yeah. Does it mean that his career is completely done and dusted? No. I mean, he's only been in the system now, a year and a half. So it's not as though it's completely done and dusted, but he's going to have to find some sort of point of difference for him. And he just, people talk about, being in the he just seems that, and I don't want to knock him, right? It just seems a little bit timid. Like if there's a bit of pressure on him, if someone's coming at him, he'll try to do the handball in the air over the top, or he'll try to like fish a handball out to that rather than take the contact and dish the handball off, which is something that's a bit, I don't know. You want to work on that, mind you. He has had his left knee taped up for the last month, so I don't know if that is hindering him to a point, but. I
just feel when we had all those injuries and Ollie was out of form and he went it just never, it didn't feel like he seriously was considered other than just being an emergency a couple of times. You know what I mean? Like whether they're sort of, obviously they're saying, I mean, this is what we need to see from you, and exactly what you're saying there, Paul. We need, regardless of whether you're an outside player, it's your turn to. I don't like using the term "put your head over it," but
yeah. I know what you mean. In those moments, because all players are going to have those moments, regardless of if you're inside or outside. Yeah.
I think, for me, it's probably less about bins in and more about the out. But again, he's contracted for 2 more years. Jack Carroll currently isn't, so we'll see at the end of the year what happens.
We will. So Bins is contracted to the end of next year.
The year after, 2026, they extended him to.
Wow. When did that happen?
Last year.
I think it was late last year.
Yeah. It was just after Ollie.
They signed him just after Ollie. Yeah.
Wow.
So like he's got, as far as we're concerned, he's probably more secure than a Jack Carroll, right? Just based on that. But I think it's an interesting discussion. I might go and deep dive Lockie O'Brien's VFL stats and see if I can pull in some comparisons, because we had very similar discussions in the past about another outside first player.
You know what, though? I take Jackson serious because I see people like look at VFL and it's like there's 2 different things. My pop used to say to me when I first started golf coaching, there's a difference, son, between watching and watching. Right? Do you know what I mean? And I never used to understood it, but people look at the VFL and they go, "Oh, he's had 30 touches." And Bucky, music to my ears when you were saying impact. It was like I've seen Dow all last year. Everyone tell me he was the point of difference. We win a flag if Dow came in, and I was like, "Watch the fucking VFL." He's having about as much impact as a feather does being dropped from a high-rise building. You know what I mean? It looks pretty as it floats down, but it ain't fucking hurting anybody, right? And then he came into the seniors, and you saw that. And Binsey is, for me, like a pet project because he's been on the channel, so I followed his career for a long time. Yeah. And if you go and watch the Tasmanian game they played where they got knocked out, I can understand why they've extended it, because I don't think he is an outside player at all. I don't think that's his full-time caper. His best work when he was playing at high half forward, pinch hitting in the midfield in stoppage, and then finding space on the out wide. And he had no defence, but his knocks were always his kicking and his impact. But his work rate was huge. And that's why I said, and I like what Lekdog alluded to, Fantasia, that is probably a role 2-3 years down the track Bins gets, where you've got somebody who's going to run hard at half forward, because Cunningham will never do that. I think if you look at our list, there's sauce players here that will never defend as hard as Austin players. All right. So I could see 2 years' time, 2026, it makes sense. Get him used to getting the ball in VFL, which he's had in the outside. They've moved him back a bit more centrally now. He's struggling, but he also struggled the first time he played VFL on the outside. He looked like a fish out of water the first couple of games. It was like he'd get the ball and just bomb it. So I feel like I think Carroll might be at risk because he's been there a long time and he still looks like a draftee. When he plays seniors, for me, he doesn't look like he's been there as long as he has been. Do you know what I mean? Like when you watch Carroll, if we're honest, I feel like Jack Carroll's like Dow in the seniors. There's still massive flaws.
It's probably a discussion for another day, but I feel like our VFL program it's still a bit of a weakness. And when you've got a second-year player like Jackson Binns, I don't feel like there's a lot of guys, other than probably the coaching, the line coaches and the people who are running the show. I feel on field it feels like very immature, Paul, very immature VFL sort of list. Even our non AFL listed players, it doesn't seem to be a lot of leadership and direction. So if you're a second-year player like Jackson Binns, you want some direction, like some stronger non-AFL listed players, or even some experienced blokes down there who've, I don't necessarily see a Lewis Young or even a Marchbank. I mean, no disrespect to those two boys, but I feel like it's a bit of our VFL program is just look at the way they play. They fall behind. They look lackluster. There's not a lot of strong leadership in that group. So I feel a bit for Jackson Binns because he's essentially a second-year player playing in a team which is at times looks a bit rudderless from a leadership point of view.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe it might even be, and I don't know if he could potentially play some sort of role down there to help him out with that. Like maybe Mark Pitternet could go down to the VFL and just give them just straighten them up a bit, just with regards to standards and whatnot. And look, the fact that they've signed him up and contracted him up until the end of 2026 tells me that there's a lot more to come with him. Can we cast judgment already on a bloke who's played a season and a half? I mean, it's tough to get a gauge on it at the moment. I wouldn't be. I'm neither here nor there with him. For me, it's just a wait and see, and I'm happy for it to be that way at the moment.
You know who I can cast judgment on? A bloke that was drafted about 20 years ago, Ratio Fantasia. Anyway, moving on.
Orazio, if you're watching, this is all Lapdog, and I'm sorry he's my friend.
Well, it's actually Sauce. That's what we know him.
11 years at senior level. 11
must be bloody good Sauce, mate.
Oh,
mate. Mate, I already like Orazio Fantasia because he hasn't introduced himself as the Prince of Perth or anything like that. Like, when you start doing that nonsense around me, you lose me very quickly. But Paul, you went really imaginative here. I don't know. I don't know. You know what? Not often does the template not get touched. But well done, Paul.
I'll tell you what, I put a lot of thought into this one, boys.
He's too busy shaving.
I actually put more time and thought into this team selection than I have, I think, all year, to be honest. And I've come up with not one change, which is it's funny how that's worked out. But I don't think I think the issue for us has been unsettling everything. And that's been our problem. And that has led to inconsistent squad selection, has led to inconsistent performances. And that's understandable, I think. But the fact that we're now balanced out quite nicely and we've got a bit of cohesion back, and just seems to me that this is the way to go. I'm just going to say keep it like this for now.
And I think also, mate, that the fact that we're coming at 10-day break or whatever it is, or 9-day break, we're coming up to having a bye as well. So these guys are going to be really fresh. So it's not like we're in a position to be managing anyone unless there's some sneaky injuries that we don't know about. But I don't think that's the case.
No,
I tend to agree. I don't think we'll make any changes at all. But we're probably just a discussion point. But
I have enjoyed it though. We've had a chance just to chat shit, which is nice. Do you know what I mean? But I do want to actually allude to something that you just said there, Paul, about trying to be, a bit more stable. And you hear about Daniel Hoyne loves to stroke it to Premiership metrics, and it annoys me because turnover gets mentioned a lot, right?
Yes.
But there is actually 5, and I've just recorded a video. I've got to cut it up, but there is 11 metrics that you can actually that work out to be right 89% of the time over the last 20 years. But one of the 5 fundamentals, turnovers one, inside 50 differential is another, but there's one that no one talks about, and it got brought up 2 years ago of why Geelong were the favourites, and it is that all but one side in the last 20 years has gone on to win the grand final with a team that 50% of its starting 23 has played 20 games or more, right?
Right.
And that is a huge stat, and it is something that repeats all the time. And genuinely, these teams start having massive changes until the bye, and it's usually the least changes from round 15 onwards, right? So Geelong had 6 changes round 15 onwards till the grand final. So usually that's when you're cemented. Now, it's interesting you say that, Paul, because what happens round 16? We've got the whole fucking kit and caboodle back as well.
Exactly.
So do you think that's maybe something that goes against? Because you look last year, there's been a lot of talk about Marchbank coming in from Kemp and Kemp nursing something during the final series. Do you think that's maybe something that we're missing, that we seem to always chop and change towards the end of the year, particularly Voss last year? He made a lot of changes the last 8 games.
Yeah, well, I think that there's a massive argument for cohesion. And for me, the reason I want to stay unchanged in this game is because we've actually put in, I would say, 2 of our best defensive performances in the last fortnight. And that, for me, that, hey?
Put a shift in.
Yeah. So I don't want to change up too much with regards to that back 6 or 7, which I don't think would have changed anyway, regardless. But then forward of centre as well, I think we're getting a lot more defensive output forward of centre too. So, as soon as Lockie Fogarty comes in, automatically our defensive, I think our defensive forward pressure is far better, and our press was far better the last 2 weeks. And I don't want to change that up at all, to be honest. And I'd prefer to keep the team in form. And I don't think there's a and the blokes who I think of the blokes who are going to come back from a fitness point of view. There's a slight argument outside of Chera that maybe some of the other blokes who potentially could come back in may not get back in based on form and what we've seen from some of these guys in the team at the moment.
I don't think they will, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't see Cottrell or Cunningham in the team, which we've sort of been alluding to all year, that at some stage we'll have to cull him. Martin's a maybe, but can you trust him? Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, Cottrell and Chera are probably the only 2 I would say that are more likely to come in than not. But for me, I just want to see a stable side. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And defensively is what I was looking at the last fortnight, and I don't want to change up too much because defensively we've been really, really strong. So that's what I'm looking at.
I mean, it's just been like the fact that we haven't had Motlop available. It's just forced us to try.
Forgot about him.
But it's forced us to push Zach Williams forward, and that now. I mean, I remember back in 2017 when Richmond won their first flag. They brought in. That was a lot later in the year, but they brought in Townsend. Remember that?
Yes.
They brought Jacob Townsend in probably in the second last round of the year.
Yeah.
And he suddenly exploded, and I thought, fuck, this bloke can play as a third tall or as a mobile bloke who can kick goals. And all of a sudden it just changed their whole dynamic. And that's what I'm hoping, and that's what I'm seeing with Zach Williams at the moment. He's a different type to your classical small forward because he gives you something a little bit different. I reckon he's more, I'm not saying he's Jake Stringer, but he's more Jake Stringer than a Tyson Stengel. You know what I mean? Like he's he can take a mark. He's a bit more stay at home, and he's a bit more explosive and X factor type player. And I don't think, like with Chincotta going into the midfield and becoming a run with player, I didn't think we'd ever consider chucking Zach Williams forward. I mean, we were always talking about how wonderful it's going to be to have Zach Williams coming running across half back.
Yep.
Suddenly he's now just a bloody dangerous forward. You know what I mean?
And I think the beauty about that is as Voss alluded to, the domino effect is that it's opened up a spot for Lockie Cowan to progress his career and develop himself as well in the senior side too.
Yeah.
Yep. Mate. And if he keeps kicking goals, it makes life easier for everyone else in that forward line.
Correct, exactly.
Flaggers.
Exactly right.
Flaggers. Well, we'll pick the team. Chat, you're itching to do it. We've got a pool, I think, of only 26 players. Yeah, 26. So, good friend of mine. I've been predicting the teams every week and being average one player off. I have given it to an expert. So, big shout out to Stu, good golfing mate of mine, who has picked the Essendon team, and he's adamant he is 100% right. I'm not 100% sure, but the changes where Caddy and Goldstein came in. If he's wrong, send me a DM and I'll share it to him. But here we go. So that is the team. We'll start with Bucky Backman. Who are we going with? Who are you saving?
Let's go. I'll go my man, Jordan Boyd.
And who do you want him on? You've got a choice of Stringer, Guelphy, Perkins, or Gresham.
Guelphy's the guy that, I know he had a poor game last week against the Suns, but there's something about Guelphy that can rise to the occasion. So put Boyd on Guelphy.
I like that matchup. I mean, I admire Guelphy as well because I admire any man that can jump upon someone in fluoro pink boots. That takes cojones. That takes cojones from where I'm from. But, Lek, you love a defender. I'm guessing you're playing Fantasia halfback, reinvents himself.
Yeah, career redefined. Pretty late, but why not? I'll chuck Nicky Newman on Gresham. He can make him run up and down the park all day.
The Gresh.
Yeah.
The Gresh.
Another player who I just have no time for, Jade Gresham. But anyway.
Don't you have him in our fantasy league?
Yeah, I know, and I hate it.
Mr. Paolo, who are we saving, Backman?
Well, Jacob Wiedering has to be saved, I would assume.
Who do you want him on? Do you want him on Big Langford, or do you want him on bigger Peter Wright?
It's a good question, that. I was umming and ahhing about that.
Wright's been interesting lately. They've been pushing him behind the ball a lot. Very Charlie-esque, and he's been pinch hitting a lot up the ground.
Play Wiedering deep. Put him at fullback. Pop him at fullback.
All right.
I reckon. I got a feeling Langford won't play. I reckon.
I don't think he will either.
No, he was sore.
Yeah.
I hope he does play sore. To be perfectly honest, but
he didn't train yesterday, according to Stu, and he was like, he'll play. He fucking hates you Blues. So I expect him to play the first quarter and then limp off at quarter time.
He's a good player. Very good player.
He's a very good player.
Yeah. Carlton fans knew about him 10 years ago because every single game he's played against us, he's kicked 3+ and just always dominated us. Anyway.
I'm going to save Ken and I'm going to play him in his new role at halfback flank to intercept that pinging ball to Stringer. So, chat, we need a matchup for Peter Wright and a matchup for Archie Perkins. You have got a host of players: Akers, Binns, Carroll, Chincotta, Cowan, Cripps, Kerno, Durden, Elijah, Fogarty, Hewitt, Hollands, Kennedy, McGovern, Mackay, Orazio, Owies, TDK, Sard, Walsh, Williams, and Wilson. So throw your names in, Sard and Gov. I think that might be popular. Ooh, Damian, for the culture. You're saving my boy Cow.
I actually like Cowan as a starting matchup on Perkins.
He'll batter Perkins because remember Perkins didn't want to go more than 2 streets away from his mum.
That's right.
It's like going to work with your brother, Pom. Something you and I talk about quite a lot.
Mate, it's the second most ridiculous thing I've ever heard since when Sauce drafted O'Brien and alluded that because GWS used to keep boys together from the same schools.
You know what would be interesting? You know who's played forward the last couple of weeks? Is Hind.
Yeah, Nick Hind.
Imagine Sard playing on Nick Hind, considering that
it's not really.
He's been playing as a small forward and doing it quite well. Wouldn't it be fantastic for Sard to play on Hind if he started there?
God. You know, if one of them chases down the other, it's going to be Twitter meltdown.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Well, we've gone to the midfield now. We've got matchups for Kelly, Durham, Martin, Goldstein, Merritt, and Caldwell. Bucky, start us off. Who do you want?
Who have you got on the wings there? Kelly and...
we've got Kelly and Martin.
Ooh. Geez, I wouldn't mind Ollie Hollands going to Martin if he plays on a wing. I really rate Martin.
Mate, I like that matchup.
He's a good player, Martin. He hasn't played that well lately, but he's a good player.
I think they might end up playing
him. They've been
him.
floating him and Heppel, though, on that wing, haven't they? They're trying to get him off that half-back role. So I like Ollie. Ollie will batter Nick Martin. He will. My Ollie. He'll batter him. But Mr. Leck, matchup's important. Who you saving?
Yeah, let's keep it simple and put Blake Acres on Mr. Defense, Jake Kelly. I think
defense.
I don't know. I know they're second on the ladder, so I can't shit talk them too much. I just hate all their players so much, and I don't rate half of them at all.
You know what worries me, though? You say that, but we're in a fantasy dynasty together. You've got half the fucking Bombers side in your team.
Yeah, well, mate, they weren't all Bombers when I got them. They go after all these second-hand spots.
Jesus, mate. But Mr. Paolo, who are you saving?
Straight in the guts, put the captain.
Oh, you know what? I actually reckon that is a matchup. I've seen a few Essendon forums, and they're saying Durham will see to Cripps. They've said two players to me, Durham and Setterfield, and I keep giggling to myself, going, I used to watch open training and watch Cripper tear Will Setterfield apart.
I hope
Setters plays on Cripps. I actually really rate. I rate Sam Durham. I don't rate Setters much. I think he's but Durham can play. He's a hard nut. Good player.
Right, you know what? Let's do it for luck. Chin Cutter, he goes on. Mr. Zach Merritt. Pom Cutter to give Zach Merritt 12 of the worst turnovers you've ever seen and ruin his career. So, chat, we need a ruckman and a follower. And we've only got one ruckman, so you better say TDK. I want none of this. I want none of this rubbish. Like we're freaking getting creative because we've won games. But we need a Caldwell matchup and a Goldstein matchup. So I'm guessing you're going to say TDK, chat. I'm hoping you say TDK while you're talking about Satterfield. But I'm going to preempt TDK in there. Batman and Robin. Yeah. TDK and Walsh. TDK and Walsh. TDK and Walsh.
Yep.
TDK and Walsh. TDK and Walsh it is. Well done, chat. Okay, forward line. Yep. This is going to be where it's interesting. Half forwards, their half backs are Heppel, Mackay, McGrath, Ridley, Laverde. Underrated is Laverde, just quietly. And Nick Hine started in back pocket, but will swing forward. Bucky, where are we hurting him?
Yeah, I reckon Fogg to McGrath.
Good call.
Yeah, I think that's he's providing it. He's having a super year actually, and Fogg just plays such an important role. I wouldn't mind that sort of matchup. Just make it really tough for him.
I like that matchup. That'll be a. Yep. I question McGrath under pressure as well, so I like that. Mr. Leck, Leckadoodle Dandy.
Just trying to think what the matchup with Ridley is, because we know he doesn't want to play on anyone. He just wants to sag off, and maybe I might sit. I don't know. Is it crazy? I might sit Williams on the try and get Williams Ridley matchup and make him make a decision.
Very good call.
Excellent.
It has been a Voss mantra as well. Do you remember Durden on Lever? And we went low. No, but do you remember we went low to Lever? And Lever looked out of place for a while, and then they moved him.
Williams was on McAndrew for bits and pieces against the Gold Coast Suns, and he was. Who did he take? Did he have moments on Aaliyah deep? He did, didn't he? Or am I going mad?
Yes, to be Voss's new plan that on their interceptors he puts a smaller. We do that horrible scrubby kick to them, and it's found a few of them out. But I do think Ridley's pretty good on the deck, though, isn't he? But
Ridley's
I don't
pretty good. But I'd rather than we just kick it to him all day. Which
no, I agree. I don't think Ridley's a good defender, though. So I think if we can give him something to do, I don't mind it. I like it, Mr. Paolo.
Let's plonk Charlie at full forward. Nice and deep.
We're going to get
big ISO third quarter. Just call out ISO, get it to Charlie.
Geez, he can. I don't rate Laverde. I know you said he's okay. I'm not a Laverde fan. I'm not.
We're going to want to win. We've said a lot of stuff about this Essendon list today.
Oh no, I actually don't mind. I actually don't mind their team. I just think he's a weakness. I really do. If Charlie can't have an impact on him, if Ben goes to Harry, which we probably think will happen.
Yeah.
I think whoever gets Laverde will be putting the Natcom on and having a lick of the lips, I reckon. So
I think the secret with what I like about Laverde is he's disciplined.
Oh yeah, look, don't get me wrong. He has a dip, but Jesus Christ, he's undersized.
No, 100%. But I worry when we play disciplined defenders that won't fall for the trap of following up the ground. Laverde will stay in the hole and let someone else pick him up. So that's where I worry if Carlton gets shallow and start fucking about with the ball. Yeah. He's not going to fall for it.
He'll probably do a Darcy Gardner and keep Charlie goalless.
No,
hey, you never know. This selection's tough. You know what? I think because it's going to be Elijah. Elijah's been proved to me that he can do a defensive job. He's going to get Martin or Heppo, isn't he, on that side?
Yeah, I think it'll be Martin. But yeah. Do you know what
I mean? Let's give him something to do. And welcome, Andrew, mate, new member of the channel. Welcome to the Madhouse. So, chat, you've got two forwards. We need a centre-half forward, and we need someone to welcome Hind in his rest period down back. So, a pocket. Your choices are Binns, Carroll, Cowan, Durden, Hewitt, Kennedy, Mackay, Orazio, Owes, Wilson. But tell you what, the fact they haven't been picked and the team's looking that strong shows you how strong we are, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you actually forget how strong we are.
Yeah.
Big H.
And this is we haven't even brought Pito into the conversation like that. He will be in the discussion at club.
Wouldn't that if Hind does start as a defender, wouldn't that be a good one? Owes and Hind.
Well, it looks like chat have unanimously. Tell you what, that's why I love your chat, because you rate our players. He always gets saved by your chat. It makes me happy. If some of the other comment sections I'm privy to, they would have dropped him a long time ago. But we're now on the bench now, so now matchups don't matter. We're going to make someone unhappy because we've got 8 players and only 5 spots. Bucky, will start with you. Binns, Carroll, Cowan, Durden, Hewitt, Kennedy, Orazio, Wilson. Who are we saving?
We'll have to go Mr. Reliable, Georgie Hewitt.
Mr. Rodri, he's in.
Yes.
What did I just do there? Rodri, he's in. Mr. Leck.
Hopefully you can hear me because I think my internet has absolutely cooked it. But I will be saving Lockie Cowan.
Who was that? I'm just joking. I heard you. Mr. Paolo?
I am going to save. I'll be a coward. I'll save Kennedy. I'll leave the tough decisions to you boys. Not tonight, gents. Not tonight.
You know what? Fuck it. Look, you know what? Look.
Get him in.
Tell you what, call me a fraud, chat. Orazio Fantasia. You're staying in the team. All right? All right. Right, so I better get kudos from the club because it's usually me dropping these players and stuff. So there you are. Orazio, you stay. Right. Everyone in chat, you've got a chance to make a debut on the bench, or you've got a chance to ruin Carroll's career by giving him 5 minutes all the time. What do you want to do? Hey, chat? Hey, Gav, this is serious. This is serious business, this, brother. Hey,
this has been the most in-depth, intricate chat we've had about a team, and we're going to have no changes.
I think
always
that's
happens.
Exciting.
But that's the best. I love that. I love that.
Think this should be how selection panel works in real life. They should live stream it. I reckon it'd be great.
Yeah, they'd be saying some stuff that you're not allowed to say on a live stream, I think, about our players and their players. Just quiet.
Maybe.
You know what? Hey, chat. I love you because I copped a lot of early hurt for Durden. Right? And
they want him in.
Hey, they are. Well done, Corey Durden.
He sold it.
Yeah, it's weird how it works. It's funny how life turns around. But we're going Boyd, Whittaker, Insard, Kent, McGovern, Newman, Akers, Cripps, Hollands, Elijah, Mackay, Fogarty, Williams. Oh, I've spelled Williams with one L. Pom.
Hey.
How do you fuck up your own name? Kerno, Owies, TDK, Chincotta, Walsh, Hewitt, Cowan, Kennedy, Lazio, and Durden. So Carroll gets a full game in the VFL, second week in a row. Durden comes back to have 15 touches in one 10-minute spurt. But Bucky, what are you doing? Your preview's not up yet, is it?
No, I'll be up tomorrow, mate. Be up tomorrow, so looking forward to doing that, and then we'll head to the game on Sunday night. It's a sellout, so I think we're up in the nosebleeds, which is not ideal, but it's just going to be great to be there. So looking forward to that, and then do the review probably on Monday, and then we're into the bye. So trying to think of a few little videos to put together over the next couple of weeks while we have a bit of a break, which is always fun. Fun.
I thought if you're keen, in the week off, we'll do a best 22.
Beautiful.
I thought we'll get everyone fit and we'll argue what does our best 23 look like. But go and check that out. Bucky, are you going to do a vlog as well? Because I enjoyed when you started doing them vlogs. Is that coming back?
Mate? You know what? I'll do a vlog on Sunday, mate. I'll do a special vlog. But fuck, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous after we've just bagged the hell out of Essendon.
I'm not. Fucking
Bucky, any chance you can get a few mates together when we win to start singing Essendon are out of the form?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I find that so cringe, and I hate when we tweet about it as well. We as a collective.
It's one thing I've just kept out of is that I've got to admit when I saw that with Swoop, and I don't reckon Swoop, I know he was part of it, but it looked like it was the guys behind
it. He hated it, just so you know. He actually hated it.
I actually thought it was really funny. Like, me and my son, we still watch it and have a real good laugh at it. I actually thought it was a classic. So I didn't see any harm in it, to be perfectly honest. But I've kept out of it.
Bucky, I saw him post it, and in our WhatsApp group, I texted him and said, I was like, you want to hope Carlton don't start winning and you start losing because this kind of shit comes back 10 times. And I couldn't stop laughing. I'm going to be honest. I couldn't stop laughing when it backfired.
There's never any winners with footy banter. There's never any winners. I try to keep out of it because you can never win. It's just a loss. It's a lost cause.
A lot of tweets are deleted halfway through. It's just not worth it.
No.
Mate, Bucky's spot on. You just stay out of it. But Leg Dog, like, you've got a lot of time off now, so I'd imagine you're churning out content on your channel, aren't you?
Yeah, no, haven't put up a thing. No, I've got one video that'll go up next week. I have been churning out the Code Sports articles. I've been doing a few extra Supercoach pieces for them. Follow me on Twitter at Lekdog. Next week we'll do the best 23 video, and then I'm out for a while, Pom, because I will be in your homeland for a month.
Ooh.
Mate,
So,
gone back to the motherland, my friend. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see if the timelines work out and I can still join a couple of videos, but I predict that the new fiance won't be wanting that. So
I was going to say big shout out to the future Mrs. Lekdog. Lekdog got engaged before he tried to die.
Congratulations.
So he's joining us in married life. So shout out Mrs. Lekdog. You now get to lose your name and you just called Mrs. Lekdog. That's what happened in my life.
yeah.
Well done, mate. Well done. If you want some advice on failed relationships, you can just come to me.
Yeah, I'll give you a ring, mate. I'll give you a ring.
What about Paul? The ratings at SEN have just gone through the roof. The best ratings of all time just coincides with the great man. The great man has been on board for how long?
2 years. 3 years now. 2 years. Two.
You've really you've really sunk your teeth into it over the last 8 months or so.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the last 8 months has taken off. But our radio ratings, which I mean, like the radio ratings are one thing, but for us, the SEM podcast network is massive. Yeah. Of course, Nick and I have got our Untitled Blues pod, and then the radio ratings just exploded yesterday. It's a 20-year high, the highest that we've ever had, and yeah, it's just Jimmy Faz. There you go. The EPL preview show put SEN on the map. No, I mean we've got. It's honestly, mate, the working environment there is amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I work there, but to go in every day and every single day there's something going on, whether it's footy, whether it's racing, whether it's the world game, whether it's any sport you can think of where we're talking about it. So, good group of people down there, and we're doing good things. So, plenty to come this week. So, yeah.
Hunter, my brother, the link to the podcast that Paolo's talking about on SEN, I've just put it in the chat. So straight above your comment, my friend. But Paolo, what are you doing this week? Because you have loads on. So just
so I've got a busy Friday.
Here's the highlights.
Busy Friday coming up. Almost Blues Brothers and I are going to be recording in the SEN studios because Nick's going away. So we'll be recording a podcast there. Terry and I have got something on that we're going to be recording at the G, outside the G on Friday afternoon about the Essendon game. So we're going to do that. We've got the Jumper Punch stage show during the bye weekend, June the 15th at 6:30. So you can go to trybooking.com to pick up your tickets. Just Google search it, TJP show, try booking on Google. It's $20 for a floor ticket, $55 for a table. You get a 3-course meal. There's a bar as well. So 6:30 p.m, June 15. If you want to come down and say hello, we're halfway through our tickets sold. So it's going to be a busy night next week. And if you're not doing anything during the bye, come along. It'll be at the Lazio Marche Club in Broadway Reservoir. So not Broadway, New York, unfortunately, but Broadway Reservoir is where we'll be next Saturday. So plenty going on. And then I'll see you at the G on Sunday if you're there.
Mate, I love it. Well, I mean, Pommy Yours channel, really nice and simple. The preview's already up because we are so over-prepared at the moment because we can't move. There is a special video coming out, hopefully tomorrow, which is all about the identity of a flag-winning side and where all the teams stack up and how hard that is from where they are now and the things to look out for. And I've got the gorgeous Marnie Cohen joining me on Monday on the Pommy Ponders show. Marnie is on the North Melbourne podcast. So she's joining me. She's going to be the first girl to enter the furnace of Pommy Ponders. So we're really looking forward to having Marnie on the show. So come and say hello to her. She's a wonderful human being, good crack as well. So it should be good banter. But aside from that, we're done. So much love, everyone who stayed here. Peace, love, and light. See you next week.
Good on you,
See you
boys.
guys.